After the tins came out, Lunalight had, with the help of the Ryziel cards, probably retaken best tech status in Common Charity, Yu-Gi-Oh's official all-commons format. But, since then, there have been 3 sets with commons: Doom of Dimensions, OTS Pack 29, and the legendary L5DD decks, containing some interesting new cards and impactful downshifts. DD Defense Soldier is a level 4 that can either special summon a DD from Scale, or banish a DD from Grave to make your DDDs Armades. It can banish itself from GY to recur a DD Pendulum monster from GY or ED. Lance Soldier is a level 2 tuner that can increase a DD's level by up to the number of Dark Contracts on field or in Grave. It can send a Dark Contract you control to the Grave to revive itself from the Grave. First King Clovis is a level 6 Synchro that on Synchro revives a DD from Banish, or one from Grave if you control a Dark Contract, and if it's banished, gives your DDs Piercing. Dark Contract with the Zero King is a DD card that can destroy another DD card to special summon a DD from deck, but it locks you into DDs. And Dark Contract with a different dimension can shuffle 2 DCs from Yard to banish an opponent's card from the field or Yard. Lance Soldier and Clovis are pretty important additions to the DD deck in Common Charity, being able to turn Dark Contract with the Gate into a level 8 or 9 Synchro. They also give the deck easier access to Vortex Dragon, as Lance can make Clovis a 7, or make a 7 by increasing something like Copernicus, going into Meteor Burst Dragon, which can special summon the Mellow Madonna you scale off of Super Producer, to also make Absolute Dragon. The main question is what this deck can make in addition to the Omni of Vortex, in a world where Melodius can make Vortex and 2 additional interruptions, and Christia? Does the OTS pack help? DDD Super Doom King Bright Armageddon is a level 10 Synchro that requires a DD tuner and a DDD non-tuner. It protects your monsters from targeting. If a monster is normal or special summoned, you can make your opponent choose a pendulum monster they control, and negate every other monster they currently control. While your opponent might turn this on with Refrain, it doesn't really do much outside of potentially negating Soprano, and even that can be played around with a lot of lines. And other pendulum monsters don't really show up on field until after the card you want to negate is resolved, or they are the card you want to negate. Giving your opponent a pendulum monster seems enticing, but there's little way to stop your opponent making the generic Link 2. Liberty Dramatist can turn this on after your opponent attacks, and you get to search it over the course of a Fiend Penned combo, but the materials seem better spent making other synchros. Even if you can make it in another synchro, its scale effect isn't that impressive either, as it only triggers when your opponent attacks and only destroys monsters with defense less than that monster's attack. So even if this floats into the scale before the other synchro dies, you need both to survive until the battle phase, and it can't even hit Link monsters. Super Doom King Dark Armageddon is a rank 8 that requires 2 level 8 DDD monsters, can attach a DD to it from the face-up extra deck on summon. It protects your pendulum monsters from effect destruction. It can detach a material to destroy target monsters your opponent controls up to the number of pendulum monsters you control. If it's destroyed in the monster zone, it floats into the pen zone, where, if you have a DD card in your other pen zone, can cheat out other DDD Xyzes. But it protects itself from card destruction, so getting it into the pen zone proactively seems tough. It's competing with Kali Yuga for big DD Xyz in the format. Where Kali Yuga is Heavy Storm, this is monster removal. Where Kali Yuga turns off cards for a turn, this protects from destruction. And its materials are slightly more restrictive. And heck, I'm not on Kali Yuga in my build of Fiend Penned. Serene Psychic Sorceress is a level 6 Synchro, that on Synchro Summon can pay a stack to set a teleport normal or quick play spell. Then, if it's sent to the yard, it gets to bounce 1 target card your opponent controls, or 2 if you control a Psychic Synchro or Fusion. This lets you get to teleport Fusion as part of your combo in Psychic decks, offering you the ability to banish your opponent's entire board with Absolute Axon Kicker, while also acting as a board-breaking tool when going second, solving one of Psychic's main weaknesses. And you know what would solve the other one? Emergency Teleport. Good thing it was downshifted in ODS Pack 29, giving decks access to extension or more playstarters. This especially benefits decks that want to use the Assault Mode package, giving those decks more starters, and ones that don't use their normal summon. Psychic Pile specifically benefits from better access to Serene Psychic Girl, who acts as a 1-card starter just summoning Absolute Axe on Kicker on the opponent's turn now. And getting to use additional copies for disruption by summoning Ghost Ogre is also quite strong into decks like Melodious or Ryziel. The Psychic deck is a lot closer to being real, but I feel like it's about a year late to CC. It's a little too fragile and not explosive enough to warrant it, though I feel these cards will show up as part of some engines we'll get to later. Megalith Fullock is a level 4 ritual monster that on ritual summon adds a Megalith card from graveyard to hand. It can ritual summon a Megalith from the graveyard using monsters in hand or on field, including itself. This gives you more advantage during your combos and access to a potentially infinite grind game, even if Portal or Emergence are outed. Anastasis is not only like a 1 3/4 card starter, letting you get to Megalith's full combo from itself, a discard, and a level 4 or higher monster. It also lets you gain advantage every turn if you ritual summon, by either drawing 2 and discarding 1, or tributing a monster your opponent controls. This is a key piece in Megalith's new combo structure, and an out for many of the bunguses in the format, even when your opponent has other monsters. However, because it's an effect that you are applying, it does not out cards like the Goki Towers, which may be more relevant than they previously were. We also got a downshift of Ophiel in OTS Pack 29, giving Megalith another ritual monster to start with, weave through during combos, and give you another pop from Bathor. This is a decent quality of life and consistency buff from the deck. Megalith continues to be the best ritual archetype in the format, being strong with or without the combos engines like Melodious enable. Gauki Sheik Ogre is a Link 2 that requires 2 Gaukis. You can special summon any number of different level Gokis from hand when you search a Goki monster, but locks you to Gokis while you control any of those monsters. Its second effect to fusion summon a Goki isn't currently relevant because we didn't get the fusion monster. This is a pretty strong Link 2, allowing you to extend even when you've already used Headbat and Super X, getting to Power Load plus 2 effect monsters much more easily. Jet Ogre is a Link 2 that requires 2 Gokis. It can pop a Goki card to change all monsters to attack position, and if it's sent from the field to the graveyard, it boosts your Goki monsters by 500 attack. A pretty okay Link 2 that's overshadowed by Sheik Ogre. Game Face is a continuous spell that can special summon a level 4 Eldor, Earth Warrior, Dinosaur, or Cyberus from hand on activation. It can tribute a Link 3 or higher Goki to special summon a Dino Wrestler from deck or extra. Dragon Ogre is a Synchro 6 with generic material. On summon, it adds a Goki spell. On being sent to graveyard, it can target an Earth monster you control. Your opponent can only target that monster for attacks. Also, add a Goki with a lower attack from your graveyard to your hand. If you can make this with a Goki, or with a level 4 or lower Goki in hand, you can get to full Goki combo. But we don't have a Goki tuner, so you're gonna have to find some other way to make it. Sheik Ogre makes Goki's combos easier and more resilient to Ash Blossom, as if only one of the 2 Gokis that made it resolve, you can still special summon the Goki you add, make Thunder Ogre, add and normal a Goki, make Power Load and search a rematch, and to Droll, because now if you aren't interrupted, you can search a rematch in your first chain, and if they Droll, end on Power Load pass, and if they don't, you still get to the 2 towers board. This still leaves the deck's problems against spot negation and with consistency. This is where Dragon Ogre comes in, with the Steel Chair! If you have a way to make a level 6 Synchro and get a Goki in hand, you have full combo. But wouldn't that be awkward to get a tuner to complement the level of the Goki? Well, it would be. Luckily, we can just make a Synchro 6 off of Sight Reflector, which is summonable off E-Telly in 1-for-1, giving you 7 starters, but you do need a brick and a Gurnet. The deck is probably as strong as it's ever been, though not nearly as dominant as people thought it would be when the format was first announced. Phazan is a fusion of 2 Earth Warrior monsters. During your main phase, it's unaffected by your opponent's activated effects. During battle phase, you contribute it to special summon 2 other Earth Warrior monsters from your graveyard, and your Earth Warrior monsters can't be destroyed by battle for the rest of the turn. Chevreux is a fusion of a level 5 or higher Earth Warrior and another Earth Warrior monster. It's also unaffected during the main phase, and makes your opponent's monsters attack the highest attack monster you control if able. When another of your Earth Warriors destroys a monster in battle, you can special summon an Earth Warrior from grave or banishment. Hunting Horn is a quick play fusion spell for Earth Warriors. If you use it in the battle phase, you can have the attack of a number of monsters your opponent controls equal to the number of materials you used from hand, but you can only attack with Earth Warriors the turn you use it. These cards are interesting for Amazonas, giving the deck better turn 1 plays and easier OTK lines. Disguise, the copycat hero, is a level 4 light warrior tuner. It can special summon itself if you have an equipped spell on field or in graveyard. If it's normal or special summoned, it allows you to add Cursed Copycat Noble Arms from deck to hand. While it's equipped with an equip card, it can target a warrior monster you control to copy its level and name. Cursed Copycat Noble Arms is an equipped spell that gives the equipped monster 200 for each equipped spell on field or in grave. If it's equipped to a warrior, you can special summon from deck a warrior monster with the same attribute and level as the equipped monster and move this over. Pop the previous wielder and lock you into warriors. These two cards seem pretty useful in a number of warrior decks. Cursed Copycat Noble Arms can swap out your level 1 or 2 Go keys for the other ones, but the best home seems to be Noble Knights. Disguise can turn himself into an equipped Boars, letting you dump 2 until Noble Arms are needed once again, and add the third. And that's a deck that can get equipped spells on field or in grave quite easily, so it's possible you do more than just go +4 over the course of a couple turns. Radiant Typhoon Vision is a quick play Allure of Darkness for quick plays or Radiant Typhoon cards, or can search or recur MST. Radiant Typhoon Mandate is a continuous trap that can shuffle 3 quick plays from your yard into your deck to draw a card and boost your wind monsters by 300 attack. And when you activate Mystical Space Typhoon, you can negate a face-up card your opponent controls. Both of these cards seem pretty strong, Vision especially. I'm just not sure where exactly they're most at home. You probably want some of your engine and most of your non-engine to be quick play spells. Sulfachord Primoa is a scale 0 level 1 Earth Fairy. As a scale, when you pendulum summon, you can bounce a Sulfachord from your scale. As a monster, it adds a Sulfachord card on normal or special summon. While you have an odd and even scale Sulfachord in your scales, your Sulfachord effects can't be negated. And we don't have the Sulfachord links. Solfegia is a scale 9, level 2 Earth Fairy. It can special summon itself from hand if you control no non-Sulfachords, and it can special summon a Sulfachord from hand, or if you tribute it, face up extra deck or graveyard. Sulfachord Happiness can be used for one of 3 effects. You can discard a card and add 2 Sulfachords with different scales, and special summon Sulfachords from hand up to 1 plus the number of monsters your opponent controls. Or it can give you an additional pendulum summon of Sulfachords, or it can special summon 2 Sulfachords from the scale. This is an engine that provides scales and bodies, but it doesn't really accomplish much with them without any of the other monsters. So this engine probably won't do much in Common Charity, where Melodious can do that and much more. Onomatakage is a bit of a casualty to the banning of King of the Pharaoh Imps. However, it still does quite a bit for the Onomat strategy, being a good discard for Pyra that's searchable off of Pyra or Pickup, that can summon itself back if you control any of the Onomat subfamilies, and being all of them itself lets you bring back gloves too. It also lets you recur extra deck resources. Onomat Ryziel seems a lot more real now. Tri-Brigade Shureg, the Ominous Omen, is a Link 4 Winged Beast monster that requires beasts, winged beasts, and or beast warriors as material. If it or another Tri-Beast is summoned, it can non-targeting banish a card. If it's sent to the graveyard, it can add a Tri-type with a level less than or equal to the number of banished Tri-Beasts. This is a powerful card. It is a Link 4, but there are ways to take advantage of it without needing to commit 4 material. Nerval, as our only main deck Tri-Brigade monster, can banish 4 Tri-Beasts from graveyard to bring him out. Revolt can summon back material from graveyard and or banishment, and Link summon Shureg as a delayed disruption, and potentially a way to get bodies back into rotation. Mariamne Paradox, the True Draco Phoenix Knight, is an interesting card. What True Draco was looking for was a monster, so they could use their back row, but Mariamne kind of sucks to normal summon to your field. It's only 1800, and mandatorily banishes the top 4 cards of your deck. This is meant as a way to make your opponent's activate an effect to trigger your original True Draco monsters when you use its special summon effect by destroying a true card. But we don't have those original monsters, and it also does it on normal summon for some reason. Kurzeb's the Jailed Glutton is a generic rank 7 beast that gains 700 attack for each material attached to it. It can attach a normal or quick play spell being activated once per chain, and be unaffected by that spell. During the end phase, it can set a spell that's attached to it. This card is probably the best rank 7 in the format for non-pendulum decks, but that isn't all that impressive. What is somewhat impressive is that because it's a generic rank 7 dark monster, if you can detach both materials, you can rank it up on your opponent's turn with the Phantom Knight's rank up magic launch into DDD Duodon King Kali-Yuga, which is technically possible off of Ostinato, though likely not optimal, at least while Christia is legal. Miasma Necromancer is an interesting piece for spellcaster-based decks. However, requiring a dark spellcaster and only recurring high-level dark spellcasters does hamper its widespread applicability across the type. Being able to normal summon Skulkerbat Joker twice in a turn is pretty nice, and so is recurring Sage de Fleur, though neither deck is really doing anything exceptional with this card. Quadogmatica Beast is like if Dogmatica Punishment and Back to the Front fused together. I'm not sure there's really a deck that's interested in both, but getting to pick from Banishment is nice. We also don't have any way to search the Dogmatica back row yet. Okikyu's Dish Count is a continuous trap that can, once per chain, when your opponent activates a card or effect, gain counters equal to its own chain link. It's indestructible and untargetable while it has 9 or fewer counters, and when it hits 10, destroys itself, then you can mill 10. A decent card for decks like Paleo, but it requires your opponents to be spinning their wheels a little so you can spin your plates. It's also not as hard to interact with in this format as you might imagine, especially in a trap deck given the cleanest out is Trap Redoer. Fleeting Flower of the Magician is kind of a modal spell. It can either be Twister, or target a spell trap you control, pop it, and place a monster from the grave in the back row, or an equip or continuous spell in your hand. Sales Ban is an interesting way to stop specific cards for a turn, at the cost of not being able to use the card yourself. I don't think there's anything yet you really need to stop, unless you really lose to Droll, or maybe some new cards we'll see soon. Speaking of bans, they banned a bunch of floodgates, including Dimensional Barrier, which has been a consistent side deck and occasional main deck staple in the format since its inception, but there are some cards that fill its slot reasonably well. Simul Archfiends is also trap trickable and locks your opponent out of summoning monsters with the same summoning type as monsters they control. This is worse in a number of ways. It doesn't negate the effects of monsters on the board like Barrier does, meaning it can't be used to get rid of protection effects to land a needle sealing or similar, and it doesn't stop pendulum summons. It does, however, affect players' abilities to summon link monsters, and doesn't allow decks to pivot completely like Lunalight can. We also have several fewer Barrier statues and Paki out of the format. The legendary L5DD decks are bringing the Junk Warrior structure deck cards to the TCG, and it has some new commons and a lot of downshifts. The 3 new cards aren't all that impressive currently. Anchorbolt Hedgehog is a level 2 that can special summon itself as a quick effect from the graveyard if you control Junk Warrior or one of its fellows, but locks you to synchros. Crossroads Sonic Chick is a level 1 who can special summon itself from hand or graveyard if a tuner is sent to the graveyard. Then, if Junk Warrior or another associate is on field, switch all your opponent's monsters with 1900 or more attack to defense position, also synchro locks you. One-Way Synchro is a normal trap that adds or specials a level 1 tuner from deck or yard, and can reset itself on a different turn if you control Junk Warrior or a relative. The real draw to this product is the multitude of reprints. Among them is Junk Speeder, a level 5 synchro monster that requires a synchron tuner and on summon, special summons as many differently leveled synchron tuners from deck as possible in defense position. You're locked into synchro monsters that turn. It also becomes a 3600 attacking monster the turn it's synchro summoned, which probably only comes up if it gets Simul Archfiend. We also got some synchrons downshifted. Stardust Synchron is a level 4 tuner that on summon can add a back row that mentions Stardust Dragon. Unfortunately, we don't have the good ones. In the graveyard, it can tribute a monster to special summon itself back, but banish itself when it leaves the field. Revolution Synchron is a level 3 tuner that can be synced off from hand for Power Tool or a level 7 or 8 Dragon Synchro. and if you control a level 7 or higher synchro, can send the top card of your deck to the graveyard and special summon itself from the graveyard as a level 1 once per duel. Junk Converter gives you additional search power, being able to discard a tuner to search a synchron monster. And if it's used as synchro material, it can special summon a tuner from the graveyard. On your mark, Get Set Duel is a continuous spell that when activated, if you control no other cards, adds a synchron monster from deck to hand, then is basically Shard of Greed. Speaking of searchers, if you have a tuner on field, or engrave, Duelist Genesis can search a synchro spell trap, including Synchro Zone, a continuous trap that stops non-synchro monsters from attacking, can revive a non-tuner synchro monster as a tuner, and can send itself to the graveyard during your opponent's main phase to perform a synchro summon. And Synchro Rumble, a normal spell that can special summon a tuner, or a level 7 or 8 dragon synchro monster from your graveyard in defense position and synchro lock you. It's also Balinks for Signer or Crimson Dragons, meaning it's searchable by Crimson Dragon 2, a level 12 synchro that adds a back row that mentions it on summon, and as a quick effect can target a level 7 or higher synchro, except a copy of itself, tag itself out for a dragon of the same level as the target, meaning you can target a Cosmic Blazer and tag into another one. Or you could target level 10 Synchro Monster and tag into Shooting Star Dragon, which otherwise requires a Tuner Synchro and Stardust Dragon. It can, during your main phase, excavate 5 to make its number of attacks this turn equal to the number of excavated tuners. When a card or effect would destroy a card, it can negate and destroy the activating card, and it can banish itself to negate an attack, then summon itself back during the end phase. You can also summon it using Axel Synchro Stardust Dragon, a level 8 Synchro monster that on Synchro can special summon a level 2 or lower tuner from your graveyard, and can, as a quick effect, tag out into Stardust Dragon and perform a Synchro summon. And the monsters summoned this way are unaffected by your opponent's activated effects. Synchron is an interesting deck. Junk Speeder Resolving represents like 5 pieces of interruption, with ways to play around some hand traps. You can chain block Ash, or insulate your play from Nibiru by making Serene Psychic Sorceress as summon 5 and setting Teleport Fusion, but spot negation on Speeder is killer. So much so, I think you'll probably want to play Eagle Booster and maybe even Book of Moon as a way to dodge spot negation. While DOODed some interesting cards for plant decks, Twilight Rose Black Knight is a level 3 plant tuner that boosts plant monsters by 1000 if you control a synchro. If it's normal or special summoned, you could special summon one of your level 4 or lower plants, or Black Rose from your graveyard but negate its effects, and as an ignition can modulate a plant's level by 1. Lycanus Lily Reaper is potentially non-destructive, non-targeting monster removal from the graveyard, but you need to do effect damage to your opponent, not during the damage step, and can't send a monster with greater attack than the difference in life points. However, its on-field effect does gain life when a monster is sent from the battlefield to your opponent's graveyard. These cards had been relatively disappointing, especially given the Ragnarok support in the Mega Pack. However, Akiza's deck contains a bunch of support for a plant synchro strategy. Red Rose Dragon is a level 3 dragon tuner. If it's used as synchro material, you can summon another Rose Dragon from your deck. If it was Black Rose Dragon or a plant synchro, you can also add Frozen Rose or Blooming of the Darkest Rose. Frozen Rose is a quick play spell that sends a face-up monster you control to the graveyard to either, if you sent a non-plant, add a level 4 or lower plant monster to your hand, or if you sent a plant, during your end phase, draw 2 then discard 1. Rox Rose Dragon is a level 3 dragon tuner. When it's summoned, it can add a card that mentions Black Rose Dragon from the deck. If Black Rose Dragon or a plant synchro is destroyed by your opponent, you can add this back from your graveyard. White Rose Dragon is a level 4 dragon that on normal summons a different Rose Dragon from hand or graveyard. It can special summon itself from hand if you control a plant or dragon tuner, and if it's used as synchro material, it can send a level 4 or higher plant from your deck. The Rose Dragon package has been strong and advanced, allowing one of your starters and a non-tuner extender to turn into a large amount of advantage. The issue for Common Charity is the levels of good extenders and good synchros don't really line up for synchroing with the 3 twice or 3 times, though I'll be surprised if it doesn't show up at some point. And people have been trying it out in a Predaplant variant. Rose Princess is a level 3 plant that is Cyber Dragon and becomes a tuner if it does. It can alternatively discard itself to search White Rose Cloister, which can special summon a Rose Dragon or a plant monster from your hand if you control no monsters, and it can maybe boost your synchros on turn 3. Ruddy Rose Witch is a level 1 plant tuner that turns into Witch of the Black Rose that is actually Stratos for level 3 or lower plants if you control no other cards. It can banish itself from the yard to restock Black or Ruddy Rose from grave or banish. Why they decided that you need to run a Garnet for plant Stratos I am not sure. Garden Rose Maiden is a level 5 synchro that adds Black Garden for deck or graveyard on summon. You can banish it from the graveyard to reborn a Rose Dragon or Dragon Synchro monster. Garden Rose Flora is a level 5 tuner synchro that can pop a field spell and summon a level 2 token to its controller's field, but locks you into synchros. It can also quick sync during your opponent's main phase. Crossroads Dragon requires 2 monsters with different types. You contribute it, and a plant monster, to synchro summon a Rose or Plant synchro, and, if a monster you control is destroyed, can banish itself from graveyard to revive a Rose Dragon. Akiza's deck also introduces some new generic synchros to the format. Black Rose Moonlight Dragon is a level 7 that can bounce a special summoned monster your opponent controls when it is summoned, or a level 5 or higher monster is special summoned to your opponent's field. This is a strong effect to break boards, especially with Kaiju, and can limit some of your opponent's options on a following turn. Ruddy Rose Dragon is a level 10 that banishes all graveyards on summon, then, if it was made with Black Rose or a plant synchro, destroys all other cards. While on the field, it can tag out to Stardust Dragon something and summon Black Rose. Crow's deck is possibly the most impactful deck to come out of this product for CC. Blackwings have been experimented with before, but not to major success. The deck didn't have enough of their actually good cards, but this set gives it a lot of its playmakers and payoffs. Simoon and Sudri are your main starters. Simoon banishes a Blackwing to place Black Whirlwind and normal summon itself, allowing you to search a 1600 or less attack Blackwing like Sudri. You are Darklocked and send that Black Whirlwind to the graveyard during end phase and take 1000. Sudri on normal summon adds a card that mentions Black Winged Dragon. This isn't a hard once per turn, so you can get it twice in the same combo with Nothung's additional normal summon. It can also tribute a monster to summon a level 2 tuner token, take 700 and lock you into synchro monsters. Shamal gives the deck ways to bridge into its other continuous spell, Black Feather Whirlwind, letting you send it to place 1. And, also, when you make Black Winged Dragon, or a Blackwing synchro, you can banish it from the graveyard to add back a Blackwing. The deck also has a bunch of extenders. New ones to the format include Gale, who is a level 3 tuner that can have a monster's attack, who may become more relevant if we get a good odd-level dark synchro it can make. Vata, who Blackwings, and can cheat Blackwing Dragon out of the ED, using itself and 6 levels of non-tuner Blackwings from the deck and Darklocks you. Sharanga can special summon itself if a monster with 2000 or more attack is on field, and, in the graveyard, if you control a Blackwing synchro monster, it can banish itself as a quick effect to pop a face-up card your opponent controls once per duel. Chinook can be sent from hand or field to the graveyard and send a Blackwing synchro or Black Winged Dragon from ED to GY to negate a monster on field and make it lose 700 attack. It becomes a quick effect if you control a Dark Synchro monster. Boreas Storm is one of the deck's major playmakers, a level 6 Dark Synchro that requires a Dark Tuner. It can send a Blackwing monster from deck to graveyard and copy its level. It's also Goyo Guardian, but you have to banish Blackwings from the yard. Silverwind the Ascendant is a level 8 that requires a Blackwing tuner and 2 non-tuners. It can destroy 2 monsters with less defense than its 2800 attack, but you can conduct your battle phase. It also protects a Blackwing from battle destruction the first time during your opponent's turn. Maybe if the deck had better ways to quick sync. Blackwing Full Armor Master requires a Blackwing tuner. It's unaffected by other cards' effects. It puts wedge counters on opponents' monsters when they activate their effects. As an ignition effect, it can steal a monster with a wedge counter, and during your end phase it pops all monsters with wedge counters. This is a pretty solid endboard piece. You need a Kaiju, which, non-Sphere Mode Kaiju, could see a resurgence given some potential metagame changes we'll get to, or some specific monsters in your battle phase to out it. And it can add several opposing monsters if you get to it going second, especially in conjunction with a card like Ouster. Blackwinged Assault Dragon is a level 10 that requires a tuner synchro. Or you can cheat it out by banishing a Tuner Synchro and Blackwing Dragon from your yard or field. Whenever your opponent resolves a monster effect, gets a counter and burns them for 700. During your opponent's turn, if it has 4 or more counters, you contribute it to nuke the entire field. This is a pretty strong inboard piece for Blackwing considering how low investment it is. You summon Blackwing Dragon and go through Tuner Synchros as part of your combo anyways, so you might as well get a Tax Dragon or 2. Blackwing seems very real. It doesn't do anything particularly unfair, but its boards are strong, with negation, destruction, and protection, though they are breakable, especially if you can force out the Hot Red Dragon Archphoenix. Before using the monster effect, its combos can extend through some disruption, though likely won't make the full board. Its cards have strong board-breaking applications, if you can get to them. The engine gives you some room to play non-engine and/or consistency pieces. It's an all-around solid deck. Okay, enough forestalling. I do need to talk about the real draw to these decks, the generic cards. Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood is like if Maxi and Waboku had a baby that kind of crashed out when the new end-of-match procedures were introduced. Threatening Roar has mostly had its days. There are a few trap decks that still will cite it, but Dogwood is worse in a couple respects. It doesn't protect your monsters, and it doesn't stop attack triggers. Still, if you're unable to run traps for whatever reason, and need to specifically survive till turn 3, it could work. Ghost Morgner and Moonlit Chill is Effect Veiler 3. It's another strong way to stop Baka or Duo Drive. It has some downsides compared to Veiler and Imperm, in that it can't stop normal summoned monsters, and must be used on the summon of the monster, but it can negate a monster special summoned on your turn, even if you have cards on field, making it better into the likes of Megalith, especially as a 6th card, being able to negate the Thor, rather than needing to force full with Imperm. Crossout Designator is currently limited. It's a card that can be incredibly strong if there are a few widely played cards your deck struggles with and can run. But at 1, the cost of running those cards, in situations where they aren't that strong against your opponent, leaves it more niche in its applications. It also goes kind of crazy in a mirror match. Forbidden Droplet is a big addition to the format. With enough and the correct types of cards, in hand or on field, it can negate and halve the attack of as many monsters you need, as long as they're affected by it, allowing you to out some of the most imposing boards in the format. Sending a trap, a monster, and another card allows you to negate Christia, Vortex, and Dracostapelia, while not getting negated by Sidekick, meaning you only have to deal with the Sidekick, and then the rest of the board can be pretty easily removed. And as a quick play spell, it has really strong applications going first as well, especially in decks that can play from their graveyard, or cards that stay on field after the effect you need them for. I think this card is an instant staple in the format. When the product was first teased, there was interest in the possibility of Mulcharmy Meowls entering the format. It's a powerful card that would have some applications against a lot of top decks, but not be too overbearing on the format. We didn't expect to get it, but it'd be interesting if it did. In actuality, we did get Meowls, and Perulia, and Foolos. I didn't expect to have to talk about these for years, but here's how Mulcharmies will likely affect common charity. Each Mulcharmy is a level 4 monster that has an effect you can apply by discarding them if you control no cards, and can only activate up to 2 Mulcharmy effects per turn. While applied, each time your opponent summons from their specific zones, you draw a card. Then, during the end phase, if you applied the effect this turn, you must randomly shuffle cards from your hand into your deck down to the number of cards on your opponent's board plus 6, which will very rarely come up, and if it does, you're still probably in a strong position. Each of them excel turn 1 going second, but they are very unlikely to be live on subsequent turns or when going first, so having something you can do with a level 4 monster card in hand can be important when running them, especially in decks that aren't blinding second. Meowls is the least egregious of the 3. While it does most often allow you to chain to an effect that will summon from graveyard or banishment, or see a monster that can be special summoned from there be put there, and it does have a number of summons it procs from in the top decks. Lunalight especially relies on Tiger and Martin to gain board advantage, but Melodious combos often involve summoning from graveyard twice, and so will a lot of decks. Even Tenyi might use Shaman when setting up turn 1. That being said, outside of the Lunalight matchup, it'll often be better to stop the effect that summons from the graveyard, or stop the combo before they get to it, than drawing 2 cards. And in the Lunalight matchup, you have to deal with Duo Drive Searching Plasma Hole, giving them a pop and the ability to tag into Vespinate to float, and a bunch of follow-up. Fualos is killer against Melodious. The deck is built around summoning a fusion monster that special summons a monster from deck that allows you to continue performing an extra deck-based combo. The deck also doesn't really have a convincing half-board to make under it. Vortex Pass gives 5 draws off of Fua, but you probably do need to be running additional outs to the combo, as the full end board can be very hard to break without specific breakers. But you will have like 13 cards in hand. The card has strong applications into other matchups as well. Lunalight probably gives you 1 or occasionally 2 draws, then ends on Duo Drive Pass, and if you force Tenyi to go first, they'll probably give you at least 1 draw to set up a normal monster in their yard. Most decks that aren't hard control will want to access their deck or extra deck on the first turn at least once. Purulia is probably the most broadly applicable Charmy, but you do most likely have to shotgun it. Melodious gives at least 2 draws to do its whole combo, with non-ostinato starts needing more summons from hand for the whole combo. It does have a better half-board into Purulia than other Charmies, but you would have to give up on Dracus Tapelia and more importantly Christia. Lunalight can usually give their opponent only 1 or 2 draws off of Purulia. If you make Tenyi go first and drop Purulia, they better hope they have a Shunna access. And most decks have a normal summon. A lot of decks use that normal summon to special summon a monster from hand at some point during their combo. It also has the most applications going first, though you'll need to shotgun it, and currently Baldrake and Nibiru don't see massive amounts of play. Charmies are going to change how decks are built. Not just from players adding them to their decks, but also players are going to have to think about how their deck plays into or around these cards. Do they play under them effectively? Do they have a good half-board they can make? Do they have to try and win the Mulcharmy minigame with cards like Ash or Called By? Or do they say, fuck it, we ball? Important questions to answer. They also make Blinding Second a more reasonable option again, letting you take advantage of the draws for cards like Forbidden Droplet, Super Polymerization, or even just a quantity of breakers to throw at boards that are probably limited to some extent. Common Charity continues to get interesting additions to the format. I didn't expect at the start of the year to be optimistic about the impact of Mulcharmies on the format, but the way the format has evolved since Alliance Insight, they feel like a positive influence on the format that will lead to more interesting games and fewer Christias sticking. If you want to play in this new format, there's an asynchronous tournament starting this Saturday in the Common Charity Discord. You'll have 3-day rounds to schedule your matches, which is really useful since devoting an evening to playing an entire tournament can be tricky coming up to Christmas. I hope to see you there. And don't forget to do the YouTube things, like, comment, subscribe, etc.